The idea of post-conflict law and justice, I think, is relatively new as a field of law. In fact, it isn't really even a field of law. It's not like tort or medical law. It's something which is emerging as a field that's worthy of study. Law isn't the only discipline, the only perspective implicated in this context, but I think it is very important to study what the role of law is, the uses to which it can be put, and the limits to talking about law in this context. Now, I've done a fair amount of practical work with the Council of Europe on sort of democracy building projects, but it's not clear what normative, what legal framework exactly you're working in. It can be a mixture of international criminal law, of human rights law, of thinking on democratic transition. And what we're trying to do with the series is to bring all those things together, and in particular to look at the role that law plays in all of that. Sure, my colleague Matt Saul and I are in the process of editing a book on post-conflict law and policy. The idea is to inquire into the various types of international law, good practice guides, basic guidelines and principles. That there's been a proliferation of these documents that have different legal statuses, or even in some cases novel legal statuses. And the idea is to try and examine that pretty vast tapestry of work that's out there now, and to look at the relationship between law and policy in this context. So with the book that my colleague Matt Saul and I are editing right now, we tried to get together a group of people, a mixture of experienced and emerging scholars who are all keen on interrogating this notion of post-conflict law, post-conflict justice. And the chapters, I think, in the book that we're editing now, they would, I hope, provoke people to think about their own research and to generate ideas that might become books for the series, of course, as well. So yeah, we're interested in innovative research on the whole idea of post-conflict law and justice. So we're interested in, a sense, applied research, looking at experiences of law in the context of a post-conflict environment, but also the whole idea of there being such a thing as post-conflict law and justice, its relationship to concepts like transitional justice, relationships with concepts like restorative justice, try and bring all those things together in a moderately coherent framework, I hope. We're looking for people who will be challenging, I think, the notion of post-conflict law and justice. We're looking for links with other disciplines, in particular in political science as well. The most important and exciting developments really is the realization that there is such a discipline. It's not like a self-contained, pre-existing form of law that you study on your law degree. There's a very real question about whether or not there is such a thing as post-conflict justice. The moment you qualify the word justice with post-conflict or with transitional, you are potentially undermining what's normally understood to be a universal concept. And so what we're trying to do is to get people to think about that, and I think the emergence of that discipline and the self-reflective criticism of that discipline, I think is really exciting.